you know, I I say what I need to say, knowing that it's not gonna change things in my brain. Oh my gosh! Just like this woman you see in the thumbnail, you see this is a woman who's been psychologically tormented, but you understand that just after time things just keep breaking. It's something that's draining, and you can see why she looks the way she is because she's been tormented psychologically. I remember seeing her and hearing her stories and kind of at the time kind of relating, but not to this level. But now the longer you get, you understand, okay, what's happening to the brain. This is a woman who's psychologically tormented, and she's a TI, and so she's going through the V2K, and as this technology that they develop using people like us, target individual, they need people to do things to. They need subjects, human subject, and the subjects needs to be all kind of people. They need men, women, children. In order to improve this technology, the more of the samples they get, the better it is. You want somebody from this country, from this language, speaking this language, so this race, the more people, the better. And that's why you hear even women and the children, actually a lot of women. Matter of fact, if one might think there's more women, but I would say there's more women speaking up, because it could be there's a lot of men, but a lot of those men don't speak and just end up keep it quiet and deal with it till the end. But there's more women speaking up than men. And the reason why they do this to so many people around the world is because they need samples of people to do this, to manipulate people, to improve this technology. This is a neurotechnological weaponry. On top of that, there's other remote technology like directed energy that's been implemented and that can do so much to you. And it's technology that's capable to do so much remotely, that can burn you remotely, that can destroy your internal organs remotely, that can manipulate your brain remotely, that can manipulate your body remotely. It's extremely sophisticated, and that's why it's kind of clear to understand that the people running the show actually are in this Department of Defense governmental entities. I mean, if you go into DARPA website, you get like glimpse of what they work on, and some of the things they work on is things like brain neurotechnological technology. As I said before, you can see like if you type in brain initiative, you'll read through it and you'll find out that, oh, matter of fact, they've been working on neurotechnology since the 70s. When you go direct energy, you see that language on their website. They work on parts for direct energy, components for direct energy. Everything that you hear target individuals deal with, you see DARPA addressing at some level on their website. Obviously, they're not there's going to be a little bit of it, but they're not going to say all of the things that's happening. So, who's in charge. It's not these bottom feeders next door. These people are just, their job is to pretend like, because they try to create this ecosystem. It's part of how they can push somebody to lose their mind. You see, this woman, the way she looks is not just because the psychological is just remote, but because people around her are pushing her to lose her mind too. They create an ecosystem of just people who are trying to push this BS story, this narrative, it's falsified. And I mean, the specifics, I don't know if these people, they manipulate, I don't care. But truly, what I see is they have to make themselves almost like children. It's so embarrassing. And the one thing they know how to do, and this technology is capable of doing, is how they can create stories in your brain. Like, you experience something, and the way they just change what you experience and the narrative of what just happened and how it happened in your head is insane. And of course, there's the people outside try to disorient you when you talk about how they're changing the narrative of what just happened or what happened. But these people are just the bottom feeders. They're not the big deal. They try to disorient you so your brain can stop thinking. So somebody just right now yelled, "Oh, he'll rape you," because they wanted me to stop saying how they changed those narratives that of reality. Like they create new versions of reality. For example, I think I talked about it a while ago, but watch how things are changing in my brain now. I remember when I lived somewhere else, not here. And I talk about the psyop, the people I look at, and I was like, I despise them. They have this psyop of like this, like, and this is not racist, and I'm talking about this is not based on racism. I was put in this program, but obviously entity, not an an employer who put me based on my race. But once you're in this program, they do this to all races. So the perps themselves, I don't care if they're racist or not. It doesn't matter. They're probably not. Most of them, I don't think they're racist. They will do that to anybody. They could be somebody who's racist. There's somebody who's not. Like, it doesn't matter, because once you're in a perp, and once you're a target individual, the perps do what they're supposed to do, regardless of the races. They have assignments of doing this and make somebody lose their. And so I remember going home when I used to live somewhere else, and I see the psyop. So the psyop I have is this like white, like it's just annoying. White, like mid-20s female trying to be like super progressive, and they like pretend they're like a protective of women, and like I just detest that. Because there's a sense of entitlement that comes with the way they try to present. It just kind of gets to me. I know it's just a psyop, right? But there's something about that just like, ooh, it just gets me a little bit more than like the other purpose. Oh, there's black women, there's black men, there's all kind of men. But that just like gets to me a little bit more. And I saw two coming, at least what it looks like two. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna call them trash. I'm not gonna go home. Let me go straight. So I'm walking. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna call them trash. And like when they pass by, like, I'm gonna be like trash. And so as they come closer to me, and I'm about to call them trash, and I realize as I'm like about to call them one trash, and I realize and I look at her, it's like, this is a kid. It's like a 17-year-old girl. And I'm looking at her and like, oh my gosh, she's like a kid. She tried to pull like her. She had like and it's kind of cold too. It's like November or something like that, and she had like a push-up bra, kind of tried to pull her breast up and try to like. I was like, oh gosh, I was like, oh, that's a kid, and I'm like shocked because I didn't notice until I got closer to her, and I was about to insult her, and I'm like, oh, I just like I process what I'm saying. That's a kid. And I can see her face. She's like, and I think in her mind she thought, oh my gosh, he probably looked at me and thought, well, oh my gosh, I'm so fine or something. And she started like smiling to herself and looking down. It's just so. It's just she looked down. She like make herself smile. Like she thought like, but I was probably like her beauty just kind of stopped me from But in reality, I was about to insult a kid. I didn't know it was a kid. Because from afar, I thought it was a psyop. I was like ready. I was walking, ready to do that. I'm gonna say these things. I'm gonna call her trash. I get close up, and I realize, oh, that's like a teenage kid, and you can see her just looking down and smiling to herself and pretending like she wow, her beauty just stopped me from like, I'm like, oh. And next to her is the psyop I'm talking about. She turns around and she's like, yo, Baron, and she walks. I was like, and they walk away. I was like, oh, nasty. And so now watch how this technology has the ability to create new narrative. Now they're like, no, you just looked at her up and down. That's how you notice her things, her push-up bra that she put, and they try to create like a new kind of a layer of like reaction to her, of like like seeing her in a different way. I'm like, oh, adding like a level of interest I didn't experience at the time, even though they usually do that. But because I think at that moment it was just like, oh, I was like, oh, it's just I was able to not see her and get the stimulation they would make me have. And I saw the teenager like, oh, that's like a teenage kid. But now they're adding the layer of it. Because sometimes they can go back in your memories and add layers of new perceptions. Right, that's how they can play with your memories, which they can do that. The memories can be played with in so many ways. It's crazy. And now they're making me feel like I felt something, which During this time is obviously during me being manipulated. Even though at that moment I didn't experience that stimulation, they made me experience a lot of pedophilia stimulation toward like kids of all ages, even teenagers at the time. But at that moment, for some reason, they did not crank it up. It's just, I think, just me realizing, oh, I was about to insult the kid. I was like, oh my gosh, that's it. So they didn't do this thing at the time. But now they're going back and adding some stimulations. And it's just like creating stories now. It's like, oh, you should stop and look down and up. It's like, what the hell? Manipulating a new story of reality. And you hear these people try to be like, oh, wait, what you gonna do? It's like, my brain, like, the stories is like they can paint. This is what this technology does. Is it has the ability to paint a new reality in your brain. This neurotechnology has the ability to restructure memories, thoughts, perceptions, and how you see things, and create stories. That's why we see that picture of this woman it shows how this woman can, like, you lose your stuff. You can see I'm gaining this, like, my eyes are like, you see this puffiness. It's just like, it's just constantly just messing with you and try to torment you and rewrite reality in so many ways in your brain, because your mind is so easily manipulated by this technology, and people around you are supposed to make you accept these things. And they try to, like, be like, and they use these bottom feeders, which, so we think, oh, it's not real, whatever, it's fine, but you're lying, as they manipulate me. And I'm supposed to be subscriptive to this. Of course, that these entities have been experimenting on people, but the technology are specifically neurotechnological weapons that even have the capability of, like, manipulating your memories, your thoughts, like, you see DARPA talking about working on neurotechnology since the 70s. And there's a bottom feeder next door who's like a child, who's like, not real. You're like, so you understand, right? It's just, they try to disorient you. So you have to deal with, like, reality, even though reality is not what you're experiencing in your head. And this is the things they do. And then what their job is, as perps contracted by these governmental entities, is then try to create anxiety. They tell me how I'm going to be tortured, and they're going to rape me, and they're going to be traumatized. And the reason they're saying that is not to warn me of it. Is to kind of create an anxiety in advance before these things happen. Right? That's what they're contracted to do. To maintain this BS storyline they've created, because they know the assignment. They have something. They are supposed to keep this fantasy alive. They are supposed to keep this psyop, this facade alive, this storyline alive. They have to keep that bullshit alive to try to make me subscribe to it. But me continuously saying things they don't like to hear, obviously, is like provocation to them. This is provocation to these perps, that for them to do their assignment, they want to create this bubble of reality. They come up with this, they tell themselves they are war. You obviously know that you're just you're a human guinea pig when you're a target individual. It's like saying I'm at war with a guinea pig that we're experimenting on. We are human guinea pigs to this program, right? So they start, like, tricking, like, oh, we are war, when in reality they're in a program where they experiment on human beings, treating human beings, even children and women, as guinea pigs to develop this technology. And the tactics are disturbing, which include pedophilia and different other manipulations are disturbing. And then try to vilify you, to try to be acceptive of these ways they manipulate you, and see them in a non-nasty way, because you're going to see them for the trash that they are. They want to normalize it, because it means that what they're part of is so disturbing that they're involved in a program where even babies are being used and they torture them even sexually. So that's what they're part of. But they trick themselves too, in a sense. And so for me, when they come up with stories like that, I'll call those out. Anything they try to create, manipulate, make up, and change reality of it, I'm gonna bring that up. And then when we see each other, try to block that out. And there's a lot of other things that provokes them. For example, what provokes them is like as they do the pedophilia type of torture. One of the biggest provocation to them is when I bring up the fact that there is a problem with pedophilia in these entities controlling this technology, even in DARPA. And it's a pattern of problem. A problem that should be looked at very, very carefully. Very, very carefully, because it is insane and nuts and crazy and unbelievable to think that they would let so many pedophiles being involved in these agencies at this level, and knowing that these agencies do a serious background check, a major, like this, we're talking about, I mean, these bottom feeders are just the bottom feeders. I'm talking about people higher than them, have much more information than these people will ever have. You understand, they go through their life in a way that's unbelievable. These bottom feeders are just trash. They're nothing. They go do they're just nothing. They're trash. They can create a sense of grandeur that's not there. I saw a child do the same thing as this person. I understand. That means that these people can really, they're not nobodies. Some of the people in the higher level, even program managers at DARPA, are caught with child porn on the government devices, while they are here manipulating men and women in these pedophilia ways. So those are provocations to them who wants to create this falsified bubble, while having my brain being manipulated in these ways. I'm not going to let them live the fantasy. There's not going to be any escapism. I know that they know very well that this is a program that is meant to manipulate people in so many disruptive ways, disgusting ways, and disturbing ways. It is traumatizing in a way. It might not be physical, but psychologically traumatizing. Of course, they can do the physical and probably will get to that point where there's going to be physical traumatizations, but the psychological traumatization is very, very impactful too. It's annoying, it's disturbing, and it's draining. That's why you see this woman, and what you notice between this woman and me is just, it's just the fatigue. Maybe mine is not to that level. But you see that it's something that's draining and tiresome, and they make you think in so many retarded ways. You've seen the videos of stupidity and try to make you accept all these things. It's just the way they force you to think. It's just not stop. But you gotta be strong and understanding these nasty perceptions towards children is what they've done. That's why and it's funny, they were earlier trying to make some mess. When they do these things to me now, because in my mind, they can manipulate me and make me, my memories, the layers of addition they can have me experience in my memories are disgusting. It's even worse than the real time. So I take screenshots of all the nasty things they've done to me. And you've seen a lot of videos of me saying, this is what they've done to me. Look at this picture. They make me look at this person in the background. They look at me, even these kids in the back. This ad, you see this kid? They make me look at this kid this way. I always do that. And at one point, they're like, oh, you did this to that because you see, like the way my brain at this point has gone, they manipulate me to think it's just phew. And that's why they kind of like to use childlike individuals, because children are like children. They're children. And so adults then sometimes have to be like children too. But they try to also sound menacing. It's like, yeah, they're going to rape you. They're going to like... And you hear them try to sound in different ways. and disorient you, and then they're like, no, but you see what you did as a kid, you know. It's like, and then you see them going back because you just talk about how they torture children sexually using this defense weaponry. And they try to be like, no, but what you did as a kid, and they try to exaggerate. While they are abusing children, even suffocating them, even sexually torturing them. And they want to they want to live that fantasy. Suffocating, torturing children, blinding children, all of that. That's what this technology has done to children, which they work with. And you know that. It's foul. And so you have to be strong. See them for what they are. The torture of children, they're involved in that. The torture of women, they're involved in that. The manipulation of the brain in these pedophilia ways, that's what they do. And then try to vilify you however they can. For me, then they try to talk about, but remember, as a child, you do this. That's why I show always in my thumbnail, when I try to bring that up, look at the age they talk about. It's a stupid thing a child can do at that age. These people torture children sexually. And they try to talk in a way that I should forget that. Talk about, oh no, you abuse. These people will actually abuse and torture children, including sexual torture. Never. And the stories they create in your head, that's why this woman that you saw, her face, that's why. They're very mean to even babies. So to all my target individuals, stay strong and see them for what they are.